that's a tremendous looking trophy.
Hello and welcome to Platinum Explosion, number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Don Blight. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here, but man, what a wild ride for Last of Us fans this past week has been.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. What a year for Last of Us fans, you know?
What a life for Last of Us fans, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, we'll be talking all about that in a moment, but primarily, I mean, yeah, most of this episode, I'm just calling it, you know, what they decided to call it, PlayStation Showcase Fallout. We're going to be talking about everything post PlayStation Showcase. If you somehow missed it amongst your podcast feed last week with everyone doing similar episode titles, we did put out a PlayStation Showcase reaction thoughts podcast thing, of course, on Thursday night, Friday morning, whatever time that got posted, after the PlayStation Showcase happened on Thursday morning. Not too hot on it. Is that still the consensus? Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Very good. Not too hot on it is where we've landed, and I would say that's where the majority of the internet has landed as well. So yeah, go listen to that if you want all our thoughts on that one. But yeah,
I think people who maybe weren't following the news ahead of this enjoyed it more, or aren't concerned about what PlayStation's future is. Enjoyed it more, you know? No, like they're not super want to know what exactly all these studios are doing right now. You know
why?
So I think the layman person, you know, the average PlayStation player, you know, they thought it was a good showcase.
Fools is what I would call them. Absolute fools. All right, let's get stuck into some stuff here. So firstly, I believe all the stories I've got this week come from Push Square, which just is how that worked out. But there you go. Firstly from Push Square. Yeah. No, just how I saved them throughout the week, apparently. So speculation, they write, claims Sony opted not to include some major PS5 games during the PlayStation Showcase. Sammy writes, as a fallout continues from Sony's disappointing PlayStation Showcase earlier this week, some rumor mongers who had been hyping the event have come out to say face. Tom Henderson, who accurately leaked the existence of the platform holder's remote play handheld Project Q, took to a live stream to tease there's, quote, a few trailers and stuff I've seen that weren't at the event, which I was expecting to be there. So it's a big surprise we only saw what we saw, end quote. Despite claiming to have seen the trailers, however, Henderson didn't say what they were. So what's going on? Well, some fans think that the upcoming Summer Game Fest could have more exclusive content, with host Jess Keighley, strong ties to Neil Druckmann and Hideo Kojima making the Last of Us factions, put an asterisk on that one, and Death Stranding 2 possibilities. Personally, we can't fathom why Sony would forgo its own event in favor of an independent one, but we suppose we can't entirely rule out possibility until this curtain has closed on said show. Another idea swirling is that Japanese giant could have a second PS Showcase scheduled for later in the year, which I'll tie into this follow-on article. So then they wrote, Sony will have more PS5 presentations this year, sources say, writes Push Square. If you include the various State of Play broadcasts, Sony has been hosting multiple live streams every year for quite some time. This week's PlayStation Showcase was, however, significant because it was more closely aligned with a traditional E3 press conference. At least that was the intention anyway. While there have been some absolutely terrific State of Plays, they're generally shorter in nature and smaller in scale, although it does vary. It doesn't come as a huge surprise then that Kotaku senior reporter Ethan Gage, citing sources who have confirmed to him PlayStation has more digital showcases in the pipeline. As we've alluded to above, this isn't exactly earth-shattering news. We always expected them to broadcast dedicated Marvel Spider-Man 2 in the upcoming months, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Where do you fall on the idea that PlayStation's pulled big announcements to potentially have them show up in Summer Game Fest, and then the idea that we might get another, and I'm saying these, Spider-Man State of Play, Spider-Man State of Play doesn't count. I'm talking prop showcase.
Yeah. I think it's completely plausible that, they could be at save for Summer Games Fest. I don't know if they necessarily would have pulled them. I think it would have been like pre-planned, obviously, well in advance. Like the two people they mentioned, like makes complete sense. Like Last of Us, they obviously had their big reveal of part 1 at Summer Games Fest last year. And they want to make things up to Jeff for leaking that themselves last year. And then of course there's a massive Hideo Kojima like connection, so that would also make sense. I guess interesting question. Which one do you think gets more eyes on it? Summer Games Fest or the PlayStation Showcase?
Summer Games Fest.
Yeah. So then why wouldn't you want your big title at the thing that gets the most eyes on it?
I mean, just solely from it would be solely from you're wanting just to keep your shit to your own. Like Nintendo would still rather do a Nintendo Showcase, even though Summer Games Fest would have more eyes. You know what I mean? They'll just do it anyway.
Yeah, but Nintendo's doing their own thing,
Yeah.
And I do expect like another showcase later this year. Even if we're going to go crazy, maybe they're bringing back the PlayStation experience.
Lol. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Nintendo is doing some live in-person thing. Xbox has their big expo thing.
Fan Quest thing they usually hold in Germany or whatever.
The Brazil thing, yeah.
What is that called usually? Fuck, I can't remember now. Anyway,
matter.
Maybe I have no faith currently in there being another PlayStation Showcase this year. We went 2 years without one. We just got one. It was mediocre. I don't like the current direction a lot of behind the scenes PlayStation stuff's doing. So I'm going to say my faith on that one's pretty low. The idea that a Death Stranding trailer is going to show up at Summer Game Fest instead of PlayStation, of course, that makes heaps of sense. When I put down my prediction for it having a trailer at the PlayStation show, even when I said that last week, I said, it was one of 2 trailers. Because, of course, there's always going to be one at Summer Game Fest. So. And the Last of Us Factions or multiplayer game or whatever it is, of course, that's a...
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a Summer Games Fest, is what we're saying.
All right, so let's get into this one because this has obviously been the biggest story post last week's showcase where, everyone, including us, went into that showcase last week going, okay, Marvel Spider-Man 2 and The Last of Us multiplayer game shoo-ins.
Yeah.
Right?
Guarantees.
Absolutely
needed to be there. Both going to be out this year.
Yeah, both going to be out easily this year. They just seem like such easy things. So we got Spider-Man, of course. Looks great. Again, check out the previous episode. You can hear us discuss that. Last of Us didn't show up. And then I didn't actually expect to hear anything. I was just like, all right, Summer Games Fest, I guess. Like, that's the...
Yeah. Predicted it.
Yeah.
Check out Arcade Couch. Number 1 prediction. Shoo-in.
Ash jumped straight in that prediction. He was like, I'm going first. I'll just, I'll take that one. I'll do that. Anyway, what's happened is Naughty Dog
12 hours later.
12 hours later. Pretty much, right as I've edited the episode, they're like, hey, here you go. So, Push Square writes, Sony significantly scales back development of The Last of Us multiplayer for PS5. I'm just going to read from the original article here first. So the original way this article went down, despite being officially announced almost 4 years ago, it looks like The Last of Us Factions, the standalone multiplayer from Naughty Dog, still isn't close to release. So Naughty Dog posted this rather weird statement. Like it sort of just came out of nowhere, I feel. Well, it didn't really. It came out of everyone wondering where the game was at the time. So Naughty Dog on Twitter posted, The Last of Us fans, we know many of you have been looking forward to hearing more about our The Last of Us multiplayer game. We're incredibly proud of the job our studio has done thus far, but as development has continued, we've realized what is best for the game is to give it more time. Our team will continue to work on the project as well as other games in development, including a brand new single-player experience. We look forward to sharing more soon. We're grateful to our passionate community for your support. Thank you for your passion for our games. It continues to drive us. Very PR written statement, that one. Anyway, so after that all happened, a Bloomberg article got posted. Jason Schreier reporting on the thing. So, Push Square writes, the extremely reliable reporter Jason Schreier cites 4 sources familiar with the release and claims Sony has slowed down development on title as the creators reassess its quality and long-term viability. Schreier goes on to report that the project was scaled back during a recent evaluation, which we know also resulted in the closure of Pixel Opus and likely the cancellation of Deviation Games' first title. Quote, a small group remains on the project while the company reevaluates the direction. While the game hasn't been cancelled, many of its developers have been moved on to other projects. End quote. In the aftermath of the Bloomberg report, Joke Mob's Jeff Grubb weighed in on the topic saying, quote, all I've heard about this game is that it looks a lot like a studio's first live service game and that Naughty Dog wanted to do things its way, which maybe didn't bode well for Factions, end quote. Last of Us Factions was expected to be one of Sony's flagship live service titles, a business model Japanese giant was obsessed with, which with it purchased Bungie to help expedite its efforts. Tack on another story here. As noted in our previous article, Push Square writes, on the supposed state of the Last of Us multiplayer game, it's been reported that Destiny developer Bungie actually had a hand in the project's reassessment. This is according to Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier, which claims that Bungie raised questions over the live service's titled ability to retain player engagement. So, quote, Bungie raised questions about Last of Us multiplayer's project's ability to keep players engaged for a long period of time, which led to the reassessment, end quote. You may be asking why Bungie's getting worked up into all this business. Of course, Sony acquired the former Halo studio back in January 2022. And although they go on to raise other things, I'll say Bungie's working from the inside out. They're playing the inside ball. That's what they're fucking doing. Looks like shit. Not only does Sony buy them and they go, yes, you can still publish your games on every platform. They're now going, that looks like trash. Cancel it. What's your thoughts on all this Last of Us shit that's been happening the last couple of days?
Yeah, it's very odd and like obviously that it became news like would imply there's some sort of like internal strife or like, you know, bad blood, I think, possibly between some of the Naughty Dog devs and the Bungie team, you know. Otherwise there wouldn't have been a leak about this information. You know, you would imagine they would have kept it very in-house. I wouldn't say it's terribly surprising that there's issues with Factions. Like, all it really needed to be was a new gen version of the multiplayer from Last of Us, which still has tons of people playing it. You know, what, 12 years after, I don't know when The Last of Us came to PS4.
Back when milk was $2.
Back when, yeah, like there's still players playing the game with like little to no like reason to, you know, other than it's an enjoyable experience and they like playing it. And apparently that, you know, that's not enough according to Bungie. You know, I can understand for like maybe questioning it from a viability point of view, like how. Which I think has been an issue with some of PlayStation's live service titles, like, or like multiplayer titles. Like, how do we keep this game running for extended amount of time financially? With Dreams obviously being the biggest example of like that team put in so much time and effort into this game, continually updating it and keeping it alive, but the financial return possibly wasn't there. But yeah, like I can possibly this game kind of grew to us out of scale, like to become something bigger than it needed to be, or was
well, I mean the wording
we don't know.
The wording for Jeff Grubb is saying that it looks like by calling it a studio's first live service game is to say it didn't like it's not good. Is the implication?
Well, you know, saying something is live service doesn't mean it's bad.
No, but it's generally like saying it. Yeah, it's. I think reading between the lines, let's imagine the gameplay is good, but all of the modules around making it a live service game were a mess. Is how I'm taking all this reporting.
I could also interpret it as it was a live service game in that's the best way to describe it, but obviously Naughty Dog was doing it their own way in a way that is not the same as Bungie would do it. Not the classic, here's a battle pass, here's a story, and then, here's content,
Well, here's my question for all this stuff. So, live service game is, in my mind, what do we describe as a live service game?
A game that requires you to play it constantly.
Yeah. So if I hear live service, I think daily quests, weekly quests, like this becomes part of your life.
Unfinishable game.
Yeah, becomes part of your life, which is fine. Like, obviously,
which some would argue Last of Us Multiplayer already has.
I guess. So that's what they wanted to add to it. But then are we in a scenario here where Sony's obsession, and I don't think it's weird to call it obsession, because
no, it definitely is an obsession.
They've got a live service obsession, is hurting what could have just been a straightforward base, like just a standard old multiplayer game release. Like just a multiplayer.
What this needed to be was Ghost of Tsushima Legends.
Yeah, but people played it.
Yeah, people played Legends.
Yeah, but for a longer period of time.
I'm sure there's still people jumping into Legends right now.
Because I guess the thing...
Tweet out Live Vive Liddell if you're...
I guess the thing is, so they want live service games. They want people who've been playing these games for years. And to have a successful live service game, you need people to be logging in daily, at least weekly, to get their quests and stuff in. You need seasons of battle passes or battle pass equivalent things. And by Bungie saying that people won't be coming back to play it, I don't think that speaks to anything about the quality of the game itself, because it's just the content and what they had planned and the way they had planned to do it.
Especially when they talked about there's going to be this whole separate co-op storyline. You have to play through or whatever. Yeah. It seems like it got big. A lot of ideas that maybe didn't mesh. So
I really want to know, and I don't know if we'll ever know. Maybe this is a Jason Schreier book eventually, his third one or whatever.
Yeah.
But the
Naughty Dog 50th anniversary.
Yeah, maybe. I really want to know Last of Us multiplayer game. That sounds like a Naughty Dog idea. Live service, that sounds like part of Sony's obsession pushed upon them for the project.
Maybe.
I mean, if you had to lean one way or another, if I had to take a guess,
based on all the evidence of all the new titles that we saw from PlayStation in that showcase, all being multiplayer live service games, first party games, yes, it would be that end. But I think it definitely came from a place of Naughty Dog wanting to make a multiplayer game that's bigger and better than what they did with Action.
Yeah, but you can make a bigger and better multiplayer game without having it be live service.
But you do need that financial elements that a live service game has, I think, to sustain itself.
Yes and no.
Is there a difference between a live service game and a multiplayer game at this point?
Yes. Is The Last of Us multiplayer currently a live service game? Even though people are playing it. Is it a live service game? No, it's not. Then there's no updates to it. There's no daily or weekly content to really draw players in, other than they like playing said game. That's just a multiplayer game.
But then does the internet just call it a dead game? Because
it can't be a dead game if people are playing it. That's not how... I mean, if people are playing it, it's not a dead game. So... I mean, I'm trying to think. But the problem is, of course, the majority of multiplayer games that come out now try to be live service games. And what happens to them? They die.
But then most of the big multiplayer games now are live service games.
Yeah. I guess, everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie. I
mean, what big multiplayer games would you say are not live service games right now?
Currently, like recent releases, I honestly can't think of any off the top of my head.
It would be like couch co-op games, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Basically anything that's a shooter or has any sort of shooting engaged gameplay is a live service game. I mean, is like NBA, FIFA, all those things, are they live service?
They're live service, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're sustained on card packs and gems and
yeah.
Yeah. It's a tricky one. Hopefully they pull it out. We all know the one person who's actually happy about this news is well played Zach Jackson, who won't have to buy Buddy Milkshake packs this year, probably. Even though,
I think that bet relied on one of their games getting released, and now it just seems that neither are. So
now it's an even.
Yeah.
He's not out.
Hold on. I mean, this game existed at least for a time. The day before, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's still a fake game, but at least he's not down a milkshake.
Fiction. Yeah. So what do you reckon is going to happen to this? Do you reckon? Because to me, it does sound like it's on the road to potential just cancellation.
I have faith that Naughty Dog will turn around. But if they, at worst they could just release a free basic upgrade.
I don't think they ever will. I don't think after everyone's got such high standards and expectations for this that unless it's going to be the bee's knees, there's no point releasing it.
But if it's really fun, apparently.
Maybe. But the other problem is you just got Sony's million of her live service games. Like if this comes out and The Last of Us is the worst live service game of their bunch, it's not a good look. How about, so they already said the reports are stating they've already removed the majority of the team onto their other project. And the other project is a single player game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, honestly, the best case scenario is exactly what Sony doesn't want. It's not what people want to hear either, because it means the game doesn't come out for years. But just make The Last of Us multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 3. Like, is that a crazy idea? Or like, forget the live service part, just make a good mode. And
it's only a crazy idea if the next game they're making is not Last of Us Part 3.
It's not. It's a new IP. So that means you don't get. So
they're going to be working on this game for 10, 12 years?
No, I reckon The Last of Us Part 3 comes out in like what? 3-4 years? Naughty Dog's pretty fast sometimes because they love the crunch.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I if I was to guess, I would say The Last of Us Part 3 comes out at the end of the PS5's life cycle.
Oh, probably, because that's their MO.
Yeah. And then they'll do a remastered version for the PS6.
What if they release it with the updated remastered version of Part 2 that comes to native PS5?
Well, that works. Do it there. Last of Us Part 2, remastered, PS5, and new content, Last of Us Factions, multiplayer mode.
Yeah, there we go. Solved it.
Strip out all the live service stuff. Just put it out. You've got the dedicated fan base that, as long as the gameplay is good, will play it. and just go back to what we used to do, which is, like every couple months, put out a new map pack, $10. I like it worked for years, people. Like, people will pay for the map packs and shit.
Yeah.
I guarantee if they'd been releasing map packs for The Last of Us multiplayer for like the last 10 years, they could have just been putting out a new map every once a year and charge like $30 and people would have brought it. I will be shocked.
It's not that hard. You just make it a different city each time, right?
Yeah. I mean, the problem was,
location,
of course, in the locations they tried to not go outside what's in the game. But it doesn't matter. Like, you're not playing as Joel or Ellie. You just fucking go wild. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. You know where the story's going. So.
Yeah.
You know where you're not going to be.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going crazy, but just The Last of Us multiplayer mode in The Last of Us Part 2
listening.
Remastered.
No. Yeah. PS5 edition.
PS5 edition.
You're welcome.
Full of ideas, you know what I mean? Absolutely full of ideas. Pulling out my ass currently. Let's talk about another thing that was announced at the PlayStation Showcase, which was Project Q. So Pushware writes, Project Q, the new portable remote play device for PS5, will allegedly have just 3 to 4 hours of battery life. That's according to an Insider Gaming report penned by Tom Henderson, who was responsible for accurately leaking the existence of the device earlier this year. While 3 to 4 hours isn't an out-and-out disaster, especially considering the device is mostly intended to be used at home on local Wi-Fi connection, it does seem a little on the low side even. What do you think? I mean, you and I don't give a fuck about this device as is.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, there's like a very select small group of people who are excited about this. And yeah, that battery life just is not a selling point. It really comes down to price point. Is that this is the same price as a DualSense? Maybe it'll sell like a little bit more expensive than a DualSense. It'll be sell like hotcakes. If it could also be used as a DualSense, yeah. Because really, all it looks like is they had like a bunch of like Xperia phones that they left over. Like, we need to use some of these screens for something. That's really what it feels.
I think the only acceptable price for this thing in Australia that I would say, okay, maybe it finds an audience at is, yeah. So let's say $229 Australian.
Even then, it's like
even then, it's a hard sell. But I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah. It's definitely a hard sell. Unless their plan is to make it do more than just, local Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Was it like patch it in some way? Yeah.
Comparison, right? So I'm getting my Asus ROG Ally in a couple weeks. Excited for that. That thing, old reports, battery life isn't great, especially if you are playing sort of, like any like really graphic intensive game.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, even if that is a downside, the fact that it could play Control on high settings and it lasts for like an hour, I'll be like, yeah, but like you are playing this, like I'm not streaming it, this is local. The fact that this thing only has 3 to 4 hours and it's just and it has to stream. So like the downsides to the upsides don't really balance out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's the, I don't get it. I continue to be very confused about the decision making by nearly everything Sony's doing currently. I honestly feel like we've done like several years of good quality, like positive. I feel like this mostly I could get positive around majority of Sony's decisions. And I feel like I'm about to enter the dark ages on this podcast.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just this Jim Ryan era,
It's just, I feel like the Jim Ryan era is going to be my. It's really starting to grain my gears.
It's the Joffrey of this PlayStation world. Yeah,
yeah. It's that couple seasons,
Yeah,
that's what we're going to live with. All right. Final story. PSA, if you want to call it. So Days of Play, of course, is going to be back. It's kicking off next week. So I'm reading from PlayStation blog. As always, they haven't announced all the Australian like deals that like Targets and whatever I'll have, but that'll come. But anyway, Days of Play will begin on June 2nd and run until June 12th, local time in each region. Our official Days of Play site will be updated with more information later this week. This was only posted this morning as of recording. The link still takes you to Days of Play 2022. So there you go. So be sure to check out the site for the latest details. So here's the things you can sort of expect. Save on PlayStation Plus membership. Start, renew, or extend your PlayStation Plus membership during Days of Play at a discount. Usually they have a 25% discount, which is a good way to restock up ahead of maybe restocking up again around end of year sales or something like that. I currently believe I don't have to pay for another couple years, but anytime there's a good saving, I just tack another year on. Like if I die, I'm going to put something in my will to pass my PlayStation Plus subscription on to someone. You know what I mean?
Well, I also feel like this is a good point to remember that the anniversary of your PlayStation of the new PlayStation Plus services is coming up for people who bought a year subscription at launch.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So maybe knock yourself down from that premium down to the extra.
I just saw out of the corner of my eye, I just see IGN Australia right on my Twitter feed. It's the most positive swing on the Last of Us news. It says, with news that the Last of Us multiplayer game is reportedly having a bit of development trouble, Naughty Dog was short to answer that a brand new single player title is on the way. That game's dead. Multiplayer game's dead. Anyway, deals directly from PlayStation for players in the US, UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Head over to direct.playstation.com. You'll be able to get stuff that we can't get in Australia. It's awesome. And then also talking about stuff we can't get, store-wide promotions on select PlayStation gear. Days of Play 23 is the code. Free shipping if you live in any place where you can get that shit. So get your PlayStation jumpers and hoodies and T-shirts or whatever else. And then, of course, a bunch of digital games and add-ons will be on sale on the PlayStation Store. Offers vary by region, so head over to PlayStation Store when the Days of Play sales begin on June the 2nd, where you'll be able to see what's up there. And, of course, stay tuned for what the Targets and the EB Games and JB Hi-Fi's and what have you are doing as far as sales. There's usually some decent stuff, if not a lot of stuff that hardcore PlayStation fans probably have already have the games, but I would expect the God of Wars and Horizons and stuff like that to be at least on the cheaps. So, Are you looking for? Do you need anything currently that you'd love a cheap? You're good. DualSense, don't need another one or anything.
No, maybe the charging unit.
You still don't have the dock.
The dock, yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Platinum Explosion. Let us know any comments, questions, concerns. I mean, honestly, I should take the concerns out because I feel like every week I'm fucking pitching the concerns is what I am. You can find us on Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. Come talk to us on Discord, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. And if you liked this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page, explosionnetwork.com/support to buy us a coffee. And until next week, remember, every trophy counts.